And welcome to the heart of the Norfolk countryside. Today, Snetterton Race Circuit plays host to round 4 of the 2012 GT Cup Championship. Today, the GT Cup grid will be taking to the 2.9 mile 300 layout. This newly redesigned configuration was launched in 2011 and since then has proven itself to be a worthy challenge and is always a popular venue with GT drivers. We've got 3 races taking place this weekend, the first of which happened yesterday. Here's your commentator Ben Evans with the results from race 1.
Thanks, Charlie. It was Derek Johnson then who took victory in an entertaining race from Richard Chamberlain, who despite some issues with his Porsche came home to claim an excellent second. Group 2 was headed by Pete Smallwood and Group 3 was claimed by Colin Broster.
Historically, Porsches have always dominated previous GT Cup races here at Snetterton. But with Derek Johnson currently leading the championship points and taking the win here yesterday in his Ferrari 458, could that all be about to change this weekend? Well, Derek, your main competition this weekend is likely to be the Porsche 935. What do you think are the differences and the strengths and weaknesses between the two cars?
Well, what we've seen from yesterday's race is that the Porsche is very, very quick. When the turbos spin up and it's in a straight line, it just rockets out the turn. And, you know, we've got no answer for that. But where we're strong is we've got latest carbon fibre brakes, which are really, really strong. So I can sort of brake 100 yards after him, which means he sort of accelerates away from me, then I catch him back on the brake. So it's like a seesaw effect, and you know, it'll be very, very difficult in a race to put a pass on it, but at least we can stay with him. And yesterday he was unfortunate to have some engine issues or electronical issues that meant that he dropped back. Car kept running until the end, which was good, but he just had an issue sort of mid-race. So yeah, we'll see what happens.
Richard, race 1 happened yesterday. A bit of a problem for you though.
Yes, unfortunately so. The engine decided to go into limp home mode after about 5 laps, and the only way to keep it running was to keep rebooting the ECU, which is a bit tricky. Once a lap is tricky.
Yeah, that's definitely going to hinder your race efforts, isn't it? What have you been able to do with the car overnight? Have you managed to fix anything?
We're not sure. We've changed every sensor on the engine last night and this morning. Obviously we can't test it until the first race today, so it all looks good, but unfortunately all the logging looked good yesterday as well, so we really don't know.
Well, the cars are heading round now, ready for the first race of the day here at Snetterton. On the front row we've got a Porsche Ferrari showdown, so we should have a good battle on our hands. Here's your commentator, Ben Evans.
Thanks, Charlie. Entertaining racing prospect then with Derek Johnson on pole position, Richard Chamberlain alongside them on the front row of the grid. Group 2 promises to be equally close with Don Grice and Pete Smallwood locking out row 2, and then row 3 is Colin Broster who heads up the Group 3 runners. Rolling start as ever in the GT Cup Championship, and the thunder about to be unleashed here at Snetterton as the lights go out and the race gets underway. Who's going to get the jump up towards Rich's for the first time of asking? And it's a brilliant start from Richard Chamberlain, so he leads. Derek Johnson looks to fight back. It's side by side between Smallwood and Grice as well in Group 2, so it's very feisty in the early stages. They accelerate on towards the hairpin at Montreal, and is Johnson through? No, he's not. He's still chasing Chamberlain. John Saunders runs a little bit wide there in Ginetta, but he should rejoin without too many issues as the leaders then turn through Palmer, accelerate on towards the hairpin at Agostini, and still Johnson a little bit frustrated here behind Richard Chamberlain, struggling to make inroads. The pair of them then breaking away from the Group 2 leader Don Grice, who's got Pete Smallwood on his tail. Great shot there into the cockpit on the Ferrari 458 to Derek Johnson as he works the wheel very hard in an attempt to get back onto turns for that race leading Porsche Richard Chamberlain. Chamberlain then turns through Hamilton, plants his right foot, short braking zone then into Oggies, which is so important for setting up that run along the Bentley straight. And they exit Williams, and now they have that long straight. Are we going to see Johnson able to get onto turns with Richard Chamberlain as they accelerate down that back straight? But no, Chamberlain has got the legs here on Derek Johnson, and Johnson, if anything, is dropping back here from Richard Chamberlain, who's put together an absolutely brilliant first half of the first lap of the race. So he puts about 6 car lengths between himself and Derek Johnson. Still Smallwood and Grice, and then we've got Colin Broster who leads Group 3. He's got John Saunders and Janessa just on his tail, and then it's Chris Bentley and Mark Cowan who are the next 2 cars along as the race leader turns through Coram Curve. And Richard Chamberlain, having made that start, has been able to build up and then maintain that gap over Derek Johnson. What about the Pete Smallwood and Don Grice battle? At the moment it's the BMW of Don Grice which is just prevailing, but eventually that is likely to change over the course of this 25-minute race, which is still led by Richard Chamberlain, turning through Riches. What a wonderful shot that is of the Porsche on the limit, and then the Ferrari following him through. This is what the GT Cup Championship is all about, multi-mark GT racing, and that's what we've got, the classic GT showdown between Porsche and Ferrari, and through goes Derek Johnson. And I just wonder if Chamberlain's got a problem there, because he seemed to be slowing out of Montreal. He's not really picked up pace, and that is such a shame there that Richard Chamberlain has encountered problems early in the race. Hopefully nothing too serious, and that he can get them rectified, if not in time for the rest of this race, then certainly in time for the 3rd race of the weekend. So it's now Johnson who leads the way. 2nd place then in the hands of Don Grice. And now Derek Johnson's into the lead. Will he be able to hold that? Well, he's not got any immediate threats, but he's still got to do the hard work, which is actually pilot that car round at considerable pace through to the checker flag. So now it's all eyes on this enthralling battle then for the lead of Group 2, because Don Grice and Pete Smallwood are really locked in battle, as they have been since the early stage of the race, and it looks as if Pete Smallwood is just beginning to make some inroads here into the advantage of Don Grice. So Grice, who maybe could have been forgiven for just think he got enough of a gap in the first couple of laps of the race, has now got Smallwood closing in onto his tail. Out to Nelson they come, accelerating on towards the bomb hole. And again, beautifully turned out cars. Don Grice in particular, a very trick BMW, that one. It's factory set up. And so Pete Smallwood's going to have his work out to close up onto Grice's tail. They're about to pick their way past Mark Cowan. Cowan, a very welcome newcomer to the championship this weekend. He's been progressively getting faster and faster over the course of the qualifying session, then yesterday's race and today's race. So he gets passed now by Pete Smallwood as Grice and Smallwood streak through. Another lap consigned to history books as they accelerate on towards Riches once more. Here's John Saunders, 3rd in Group 2. In fact, no, he's leading Group 3 rather, isn't he, in the Janetta G50. And so John Saunders, well, I thought he was in Group 2 because he's running very, very competitively, and he's able to pull out a reasonable advantage now over Chris Bentley, who's next up in that class, as the battle for Group 2 continues between Don Grice and Pete Smallwood, the pair of them. That gap is definitely coming down, isn't it, as Smallwood closes to win a car length, if not a little bit less than that, of the BMW of Don Grice as they exit Palmer, accelerate on towards Agostino. Oh, you can see the move here. Smallwood jinks the inside and through he goes past Don Grice, and so Smallwood it is who takes the lead of Group 2. That chase has been going on for several laps now, and it finally pays dividends. Now, what can Don Grice do about chasing him down? And if anything, there seems to be a problem there. The car's bouncing on the suspension. That is a great shame there. And Don Grice, unfortunately, seems to have countered some issues. So the moment that Pete Smallwood takes the lead of the group, he is able to pull away because Don Grice suddenly encounters mechanical problems. So he has issues. Smallwood leads the group and is now going to lead it reasonably comfortably as Derek Johnson heads past the somewhat ailing Richard Chamberlain, unfortunately. So Richard, he's back out on track, which is good to see. Hopefully whatever problems he's got, he can fix in time for the 3rd race, as it's last lap time for the race leader Derek Johnson. He's coming up onto the tail of Chris Bentley in his Porsche, and Chris putting together a good run here. He is looking well set to be 2nd in Group 3 to this man, John Saunders. So Saunders in the Janetta, a fine performance from a quick driver, John. Hopefully we'll see a bit more of him in the GT Cup Championship, because he really has shown them the way home in Group 3 this weekend. Mark Cowan, well, he has been steadily improving over the course of the weekend, and he is looking well set to claim 6th position in this race. But it's going to be a race win to Derek Johnson, who exits Murray's for the final time, accelerates along the centre straight. The checker flag goes out, and it's the win, 2 from 2 this weekend at Snetterton for Derek Johnson, with in 2nd position then Pete Smallwood, as Johnson still accelerates on through Riches. So let's take a look at the final result then, with Derek Johnson taking the win from Pete Smallwood in 2nd and claiming Group 2 honours, and John Saunders heads up competitive Group 3.
Well, Derek, another win for you there. A shame, though, to have lost the competition of Richard so early on.
Yeah, I mean, it looked like we were going to have a good fight there because Richard's car's really, really fast, but I'm really, really good on the brakes. The car has carbon fibre brakes, which real good stopping power. So, you know, the first lap or two there, he would dart away on the straight, and I would catch him back on the brake, and I thought this is going to be it for the race. Like,
It's another Group 2 win for you there. You were really trying hard to bring those times down, weren't you?
Yeah, I was going quicker than I did in testing on Friday and yesterday, even in quali. So I was well pleased with the times. I was trying so hard to catch Don, and I was pulling him in once the tyres came in at about lap 6, lap 7. Yeah, I was making good progress. And I thought we were in for an epic battle in the last 5 minutes. Unfortunately, same as race yesterday, got on turns with the guy, and then the car broke. So I guess I have to thank Pa for giving me such a great car all season, really. That's 7 class wins, and so far, touch wood, no DNFs.
Well, John, congratulations. That's your first GT Cup Group win. How does that feel?
Absolutely marvellous, absolutely great, fantastic.
How was the race for you?
Yeah, it was hectic at the beginning, and then once there was a small coming together with Colin and Richard, it was a little bit lonely then after that. But up till then, it was quite intense, and I tried to get Colin on the first hairpin and went on the outside, but I got squeezed out. He got the line, and then I just had to tuck in behind.
Well, Richard, another disappointing end to the race for you. What happened?
I think, well, I don't think one of the turbochargers has gone, so that's it for us. We're finished for the day. We haven't got a spare, so go home.
That's really disappointing. But you think you've solved the sensor issue that you had for the other race?
If I cross everything, I believe so, but it only ran for a couple of laps before the turbo went. I think they are, certainly on the face of it, completely unrelated, and the engine was going really quite nicely beforehand, so I think it's one of those things. The turbos have done quite a number of hours. We'll send them back, and they'll tell us what's gone wrong. So yeah, hopefully we have, but we'll need to test before the next round.
Well, another great mix of cars on the podium here at Snetterton, with a Ferrari, Porsche and Ginetta all taking group wins. Do join us just after the break for our final race of the day.